The Charlotte Hornets lose another game in overtime, and worse, it comes against the Miami Heat. And of course, and even worse, it happens on a controversial call at the end. We talk about it all today on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
You are Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
I'm Walker Mehl. Thanks for joining me on the Locked On Hornets podcast, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. You can catch us anywhere you get your pods. That includes YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter for however long it's going to exist. I need to figure out something else. I saw Doug tweet out that, hey, I guess the people that follow me will find me on some other social media platform if this whole Twitter sphere thing decides to blow up. I'm not sure if the advertisers keep pulling from the new Elon Musk-led Twitter, then I'll let you know where else you can find me. But right now, we'll still ride it out. So you can find me on Twitter at Walker Mehl. I'm also on WFNZ from 10 to 2 every single day, although stay tuned for a change. Something could happen there. All right. Let's talk about this frustrating game, man. I mean, against the Miami Heat, the Charlotte Hornets lose in overtime. They lose 117 to 112. And I'm just happy that the Hornets were in this game. And then, of course, once you're in it, hope builds to the point where you think you can actually win it. And they could have. I thought there was some really clutch moments. P.J. Washington came up big at the beginning of the fourth quarter. You know, P.J. Washington along with Jalen McDaniels. I got to give my boys some shouts. 6 of 10 for Jalen McDaniels. Clutch shots. That's something that he's been providing this team all season long. He went 3 of 5 from beyond the arc and scored 16 points. Really, Kelly Oubre, who I usually don't give a ton of love to, but this year's been a little different. I feel like there has been at least some effort into changing some of the ways that he plays. Now he's been jacking up a lot of three-pointers. I think after Gordon Hayward got injured, no LaMelo, no Terry for a while. He's like, all right, guys, hop on my back. We're going to let this thing fly from deep, just like he let it fly last year. But Kelly Oubre made some huge shots in this game, and also defensively. Late in the game, there was a time where he got in the passing lane, was up on his guy, and then actually was able to have the basketball go off of the opposition's foot, and then it's the Charlotte Hornets basketball. DSJ has another clutch layup because that's just what he does. Also, I know Doug was a huge fan of the fadeaway, kind of like mid-fadeaway in the mid-range, where it was like the shot was out in front of him. It felt like there was different form on that shot, and DSJ still hit it. And at the end of the day, they still find a way to lose because the official called a travel on Kelly Oubre. And Kelly Oubre, so he got this ball. I was trying to get the timestamp just perfect here. So one moment when I was trying to bring up exactly what happened with Kelly Oubre. Yeah, I can't find it. But so Kelly gets a travel called on the sideline, out of bounds play. Not even a play, just you're inbounding the ball, right? And Kelly catches it. And it felt like he caught it, gathered, took a couple steps to do so, and then moved his pivot foot rather than moving the other foot before a dribble. And the official decided to go ahead and call that. I got angry. I put out there on Twitter, congratulations, ref. We saw you, man. Like, that's great. Look, if it is technically a travel, fine. But my problem with that is the fact that you don't call that, not even in that situation. I'm not one of these people that want to have the game called differently in that situation than in the rest of the 3 quarters in, let's say, 10 minutes. Like, I'm fine calling the game the same you do in the first as well as what you should do in the fourth. My point is exactly that. That travel is not getting called in the first quarter. So think about that. The official wants to be a part of the game later in the contest during winning time or potential winning time. That's my problem. You know, I know people might say, well, look, it's technically a travel. Man, it's just so incredibly lame that is the time that you decide to be sure that you get that call right, quote unquote, and then take that away from the Charlotte Hornets. I mean, you just don't call that in the first quarter or the second. And then when Kelly Oubre gathers the basketball, no one would have called for that. I mean, the thing about the 2-minute report, I haven't even seen it. I haven't checked it out. But the 2-minute report If you were to go back, let's say Kelly Oubre doesn't get the travel call. He drives, he forces up a shot, Hornets lose, and Miami, still, it's the end result where Miami wins in overtime. I guarantee you're not seeing a travel call that should have been called in the 2-minute report. No one's looking at it. But what's going to happen here is the officials are going to go back and say, well, technically it's travel. We're going to save our own behind, and we're not going to call this a mistake. That's my problem. Like, think about how lame that is, that the official decided in that moment he was going to be extremely strict on you moving your pivot foot, gathering the basketball, just inbounding the basketball. There's no reason for that to happen. And that's why I got angry with the official last night. I'll say this. I am never going to be someone that blames the refs for a loss because there's too many other opportunities that the Hornets had in this game. So, no, it is not specifically because of the officials that the Hornets lost this game. But when the refs make that call and take away any shot that the Hornets have at the end, certainly on that possession, yes, they were down, but they certainly had a shot to possibly do something in that period. And eventually the refs took it away. So I did not like that call last night because I don't think that he's making that in the first. I don't think he's making that in the second. I think he was wanting to do too much, paying attention extremely in a strict way, and deciding, you know what? Nope, we're going right down to the Miami end. And, making the call, right? He knows that he's about to get he's not going to get a whole bunch of feedback because it's in Miami, but he knows the magnitude of the call that he made, and he just runs right on back, and he's ready, straight face, deadpan, ready to go. All right, let's play the last 15 seconds or whatever. That's it. I just didn't think that was something that would have been called, and I also don't think that the 2-minute report, had it not gone called, would have shown, hey, Kelly Oubre traveled and the officials missed something. So that was a real problem. But again, it's not why they lost, and we'll dig in a little deeper into some of the things that happened. So coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast, I do want to dive a little deeper into the box score. Terry Rozier, not coming up clutch like he has before. So that's a problem, especially with no LaMelo, no Gordon Hayward. We've talked about the injuries ad nauseum now. So it's important for Terry Rozier to show up. Hopefully he can do so quickly, and the Hornets can get back on track after losing 7 straight, this time to the Miami Heat. All right, these days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. What you can do is you can go to LinkedIn, you can add your job and the purple hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you are indeed hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. You can post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. So let's talk about Terry Rozier just not coming up clutch here. It's the reason that we're talking about the clutch factor for Terry, couple things. One, he's been so damn good at it the last couple of seasons. It's actually been crazy. I remember seeing a stat, and I forget at what game it came, right, when the graphic showed. But out of the 100 three-pointers taken in a clutch time scenario, Terry Rozier was only 3 attempts away, right? He had 97 in a clutch time scenario, and he had by far the highest percentage of anybody that had 100 three-pointers. And then once he would shoot 3 more, he would still be higher, right? Like, this is somebody that was one of the clutchest players in the NBA the last couple of seasons. Dealt with an injury, after playing the first couple of games, came back, actually did a nice job against the Brooklyn Nets, but the last 2 games, rough shooting for him. 8 of 25 from the field for Terry and 43 minutes logged. He logged the most amount of minutes in this game against Miami. So 8 of 25, also shot 3 of 10 from behind the three-point line. Scored 22 points, was the second leading scorer behind Kelly Oubre, whose shooting kept them alive this entire game. But it's the Terry clutch shooting that really just didn't come up big here. You saw the offense that it was bad. I mean, you saw the shot at the end of the fourth quarter where Terry shot basically a 30-footer, tried to dribble past. I think it was Bam Adebayo guarding him, and it just wasn't working. I forget who it was guarding him. I could have that wrong. We just know that Terry heaved something up that didn't really have a shot. So the clutch time shooting for Terry just not going right now, and it's understandable that all of that offensive responsibility falls on him, and even Kelly to a certain degree. PJ kind of took a step back, only 9 points in this game, so lots of people scored more, including Mason Plumlee. And it's not like PJ had an awful shooting night, just didn't take as many. This was a game where they did not rely nearly as much on PJ. When you go back to, I think the Sacramento contest, there's been a couple for PJ where Steve Clifford said, they can't guard you, and we're going to run through you right now. They didn't really do that with P.J. Washington. Only a three-pointer for him, 4 of 9 from the field, and did log those 9 points, as I mentioned. So didn't get that. The guys that they relied on, it was Kelly Oubre, tried to for Terry, and Terry scored 22 points, so it's not like he had this awful game, but the shooting percentages, they weren't good. And also Dennis Smith Jr., who continues to be extremely impressive. 6 of 9 from the field, did not hit a three-point shot, but made all of his two-point shots. So it was 6 of 6 from inside the three-point line, 8 assists in this one, had the steal, only a couple of turnovers, and scored 12 points. If you look at the plus-minus column, he not by far, but by a considerable amount, led the team in plus-minus at plus 10. The next closest to him was Mason Plumlee at plus 4, and he logged 39 minutes, by the way. Of course, at the end of this game, Dennis Smith Jr., in crucial moments, went up for a pass, and then Dennis Smith Jr. sprained his left ankle, or there was a left ankle injury. I didn't see Steve Clifford's comments on it last night. We'll see what happens. I'm sure nobody wants to hear that Dennis Smith Jr. is going to be close. That word has been dubbed taboo by one Doug Branson. I'm sure a lot of Hornets fans out there. But Dennis Smith Jr. getting hurt. I feel like I'm the real-life version of the Michael Scott gif where he's looking, don't you dare. I'm going to every Hornets ankle, especially the left ankles, because apparently those are the ones with the problems. I'm looking at every one. I'm saying, don't you dare. And maybe that'll be scary enough for them to just stay intact, not be sprained. That would be fantastic. But we can't have nice things, especially in the backcourt. If you play in the backcourt for the Charlotte Hornets team, then you are going to get injured. I don't want that to happen. I'll knock on wood. This is a wooden desk. Knock on wood. I hope it doesn't happen. But that seems to be inevitable for anybody that plays in the backcourt, especially a starter. Dennis Smith Jr. was awesome in this game. I saw Doug tweet out too, like he's falling in love with him. It's something that we both have done, has been falling in love with Dennis Smith Jr. And the unfortunate part is you want to see him with the entire healthy squad. You want to see him with LaMelo. You want to see him with maybe a Terry that's able to knock off the rust that comes with that injury. You want to see him with Gordon more so. Just fully healthy Dennis Smith Jr. What about the Cody Martin, Dennis Smith Jr. lineup? So the defensive lineups that you could have with maybe Melo at point guard, and then you go Dennis Smith Jr. in the backcourt, right? So you just have two ball handlers in the backcourt. You have Cody Martin, Jalen McDaniels, P.J. Washington. That's a lot of defense out there. I am longing for those types of lineups. I am longing to see what DSJ can do. And yet, he was questionable coming into that game against Washington, and here he is suffering an injury. Hopefully he can come back sooner rather than later. Okay, coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast, we'll talk a little bit about where the Hornets rank in the standings and what this loss means long-term for the Charlotte Hornets. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. You can get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball to soccer, esports. We got it all on BetOnline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can find those on BetOnline as well. I would imagine you do. Just still listen to us. Don't just exclusively make BetOnline your podcast feed. But incorporate that. Allow that to be in the listening train. We're always the fastest and the easiest way to get your betting fix in. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. So the problem with the Hornets losing last night is the fact that they can't make up any ground in the standings. I said this yesterday, and even with the Hornets struggling so much, having lost 6 coming into this game against the Heat, I guess still a little, I don't want to say surprising, but and jarring is too strong. Just a little bit of a shock. Oh, okay. the Hornets are last in the Eastern Conference. And now they hold sole possession of being last in the Eastern Conference. They're 3-10. The Orlando Magic are 3-9. The Detroit Pistons are 3-9. And that loss for Charlotte actually helped Miami because Miami not playing very well. That win allowed them to go to 5-7. I mean, Miami's got a lot of problems right now. Negative point differential, almost losing to a very banged-up Charlotte Hornets team. Had to survive at home in overtime. And they missed a lot of easy shots, too. I thought Bam Adebayo offensively, he hit the jumper in short corner later in the game, but also had the layup where he just completely missed a bunny. Just didn't understand, I don't understand really what's going on with Miami. The offense looks putrid. I saw Locked On Heat actually say that they were throwing up watching the Miami offense. I'm like, yeah, man, I got you. Like, we understand that loud and clear here in Charlotte, especially when watching the half-court offense. Not something that has been pretty. But, look, I think offensively for Charlotte, if you look at what they were able to do in this game, and they'll play again, by the way, against Miami here. What is this? It'll be tomorrow. So they'll play again against Miami. Hopefully they can get revenge, whatever that means in this type of context. But Charlotte scored 104. Not a lot, but they had really been struggling to get to that century mark. And I mean, they scored 104 in the first 4 quarters. So overtime, that'll help you. That's what got them to 112. Still, offense is a struggle for Charlotte right now, and it continues to be the case where you hope that they can get these guys back. It was pretty quick that LaMelo, Gordon, and Cody Martin were all going to be ruled out. I don't know what's going to happen for Dennis Smith Jr. in this game against Miami the second time around, taking place on November 12th. It'll still be on the road for Charlotte. So I don't know if not traveling, right, will help them because, now if Dennis Smith Jr. is dealing with this ankle injury, doesn't have to put any weight on it, and just chill, stay at home, stay in the hotel at least. You don't have to travel, get on the plane, do all that. So hopefully that can happen for DSJ. Same thing for LaMelo. Same thing for Gordon. I don't know if there's a benefit there to be had, but I'm just hoping for anything possible right now. Would love to see those guys back as soon as possible. We'll finish up with the last few nuggets in this box score. So going to the bench, the bench, it was Jalen McDaniels and Nick Richards. I know Doug wasn't exactly pleased with his screening in this game, but Nick Richards, to me, still was able to be a nice threat inside, 4 of 4 from the field, hit a couple of the 3 free throw attempts, did have the 1 block and the 1 steal. So, again, finished with 10 points just in 14 minutes, too. And the other thing is James Bouknight, really struggling. And Bouknight, I'm hoping he can turn it around. I don't like to see him struggle, but it's happening for him. Only scored 1 point. He hit 1 of his 2 free throws attempted, shot 4 3-pointers, missed all of them, shot something with inside the 3-point line, missed all of them. So this is another 0 of 5 game. He started off the season with 2 0 of 5 performances, and he continues that here against the Miami Heat. Once again, they'll play Miami on November 12th, and we'll be back to recap it all here on Locked On Hornets. Thanks again for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your pods. That includes YouTube. Now make your second listen Locked On NBA. It's your daily 30-minute update on everything taking place within the association. Again, you can catch that wherever you get your podcast. Have a great weekend, and we'll be back with you on Monday.